Okay, well, welcome everyone who's watching to this week's Fred Talk. And this week we've got and I mean it truly, the wonderful Kaz Riley, who I've come to know over the last few years. We travel with kind of hypno circuit, with conferences around the world, and we always have a good chat and good time together. Um, and Kaz is going to do a presentation on connection. She'll explain more, but it's about connections in our relationships, in our friendships, in life in general. I'm assuming, is that right? And
Yeah.
how we can improve that with the understandings and the use of hypnosis, and how Kaz uses that within her client sessions as well. So it's going to be a great talk. Thanks for everyone for joining. I'm going to hand over to Kaz, and she's going to keep us fascinated for the next, as long as you like, really. You know, there's no limit on it. It's entirely up to you. And I'll come back in later, and Kaz, I'm sure will answer any questions that you want to ask. Okay. So have a wonderful time, and I'll see you all later. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks for a lovely intro. Well, yeah, I mean, thank you, and everybody that's joining me or joining this webinar this evening, because I know it's Memorial Day weekend over in the States. It's a bank holiday here. I know that we haven't all got very much to do at the moment, because most of us are still in lockdown of some kind at the moment, but thank you so much for being here. As Freddie already said, my name's Kaz Riley. I've been a hypnotist now for 2 decades. I'm a clinical hypnotist, and my business, even though I go and I teach internationally, like Freddie said, on the circuit, I'm still very much a client-based, client-facing hypnotherapist with offices here in Yorkshire, and I work online a lot, even more so this past few weeks. So thank you so much for being here. I also founded something called Sexual Freedom Hypnosis, which is really about helping people connecting with themselves, connecting with their bodies, connecting with their partners. And connection really is the kind of mainstay that underpins just about everything we do with hypnosis, regardless of the type of hypnosis that we do. And I think that's really important when we kind of see it like that. If you're a stage hypnotist, you connect with an audience and then you get them to connect with themselves, to be playful. If we're clinical hypnotherapists, we really get people to connect in with themselves. And ultimately, whatever somebody comes and sees us for in our offices, it's all about connection. It's about a disconnection quite often. But I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of a background story about my own journey from disconnection to reconnection, really. And, you know, it's probably one of the main reasons, actually, that I ended up doing this job, that I became a clinical hypnotherapist. And basically, when in 1987, I was 13 years old. I was living in a small village near a small town near the city of York in Yorkshire, and I was very disconnected. I entered at that time into the realms of an eating disorder. I was anorexic, and many years later became bulimic. But during that time, when that eating disorder had a real grip of me, I was completely disconnected. The way I describe it now to people when they ask me what that was like was being completely numb. I was disconnected from my own self, from my body, what I saw in the mirror, and what the reality was had no connection at all. I was certainly disconnected from any kind of communication that my friends and my family were trying to tell me, that there was something going on with me that wasn't right. I was very disconnected from my schoolwork, from myself, from my feelings. You know, everything was one big disconnection. And it was really the kind of real turning point for me when I started to reconnect into things, was in 1989 when I actually fell in love for the first time, and I made a connection with somebody else. And that connection then led me to kind of start to believe and to see what everybody else was telling me, and to start to connect back in with my body and my feelings and the world around me as I moved forwards with kind of that process of reconnection. Now, it wasn't an instantaneous thing. It took a long time. It really wasn't until I went to university in 1992, where although I was on the road to recovery at that point, I was eating. I still had a lot of bulimic kind of tendencies, but I was still very disconnected from myself, and still was very disconnected from a lot of my feelings, and certainly disconnected from things like self-belief and self-worth. And I took myself off to see the university counsellor, and it just so happened that this guy, his name was Eamon O'Brien. I think he still works in Liverpool somewhere. I will forever be indebted to him, but he also happened to be a hypnotherapist. And that was, for me, it was really where my reconnection started to accelerate. So I got connected back in with myself. I got connected back in with my studies. I got connected back in with things like self-confidence and self-worth, and I moved forwards. And that for me was, was a really big lesson about how disconnection makes you numb, because of course, as I've always said, feeling is healing. And once I started to feel everything again, then I began to really connect back in with myself, with others, with my environment, and to really kind of listen and to live my life in a much more mindful, positive, wholehearted way, I guess. And when we think how that relates to the work that we do, now I am the hypnotist, is that people come to us and they are often disconnected, or they've got a faulty connection. So, for example, well, just about anything that we work with. So you get people that will come in and tell you that, their mind and their body aren't connected, or they're not connecting well, or that their mind isn't listening to their body, even though they're telling their body what they want to do, that they want to exercise more, or to lose weight, or to have more confidence, or not to be scared of a particular thing. And this is where, for many people, they have kind of misunderstood the difference between communication and connection. And the two things are very, very different things. The way that I kind of define the things is that communication is about the exchange and delivery of information. So we might have that, be delivered or given some information. We don't know necessarily that the other person has understood it. We've maybe not connected with them enough so that they understand the intention, the meaning, and all the things that make up connection. Connection really is about a state of being. It's about being completely immersed in our experiences, our feelings, our environment, our relationships. It's really about being immersed and connected to humanity. It's about what makes us human. When we think about, we talk about computers connecting, but actually they're communicating. That's about an exchange of information. What we do as humans is we connect with one another. But what we can't do is connect to anybody unless we're connected to ourselves first. It's that self-connection, whether that's mind, body, mind, spirit, whatever it may be. That connection is the part of us that's really important. I was going to pause for a second. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to put them up on the chat. I want to connect with you as we kind of go through this seminar. And if you're happy to, if you've got a question, what I'll do is I'll bring you up on the screen so that you can ask your question, which is always a better way of doing it. But what I'm going to do now, before I kind of carry on talking to you about the different kinds of connection and how we work with connection as hypnotists, what I wanted to do was to kind of get you all in a good place so that you can connect with yourself a little as we kind of go through this process this evening. So, you know, because I'm a hypnotist and because we're all interested in hypnosis, the best way to do that, I think, is through just a little kind of mini hypnosis, if you like, just to kind of start things off. So what I'm going to get you to do, and it's kind of weird doing this when you can't see anybody, but I'm just going to trust that you're just going to go with the flow, is just take a nice, comfortable breath in and then just close your eyes. And just for a moment, I just want you to focus on your breathing. I want you to connect in with your breathing. And I just want you to notice the rise and the fall of your chest. And just notice the breath, the difference of the temperature of the air as you connect in with the air around you. And just noticing how the air connects with your lungs, as if your lungs are being breathed. The air filling up your lungs with every breath. And as you exhale, that feeling of just letting go. And just moving that breath as you breathe in so that your whole of your body will eventually feel breathed. Moving your attention down into your abdomen as your abdomen is breathed. That wonderful energy, that life force, our breath. And feeling it moving into your shoulders and into your arms, as if your arms can become breathed. Your hands breathed. And as you allow yourself to notice that, experience that feeling of just noticing how amazing your body is as it breathes. Allowing your legs and your feet to become breathed. The air moving in and the air moving out. Notice your head being breathed. Even your hair, if you've got more or less than usual, depending on whether you've had that lockdown haircut yet or not. Even your nose, your ears. As if your whole body is becoming connected to your breath. And the whole of you becoming connected to the air, the atmosphere around you, that feeling of being breathed. And just feeling that and experiencing that. And know in a moment as I count from 1 to 5 and you open your eyes again, bringing back that feeling of self-connection. Being aware of every part of your body, every feeling in your body. And noticing too that that feels good. It feels good, to feel connected. Wonderful feeling of being breathed, calm. So ready, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open, feeling wonderfully breathed and connected. There we go. Oh, there we go. That's one of my. I can see Freddie there smiling. Now, what I have 2 claims to fame as we move through this. One is that I inadvertently hypnotized Freddie Jacklin once, but we'll come to that at the end of this session. And the other one is that I've hypnotized Batman. In fact, 2 Batmen. Batman and Batman's sister, but 2 different Batmen. So there's my little claim to fame. There we go. Lush. Thank you very much, and a smile from Grant there. So connection. It's more than just about, when we talk about connection, and like I've already said, we often misinterpret that as communication. Many of our clients, certainly the clients that I see working a lot with relationships, will come in and tell me that they need to communicate better with their partner, or that they're not communicating with their partner, or they're not communicating with their children, or communication has broken down. But actually, it's not the communication that's the issue. People are communicating, and if people are having an argument, they're communicating. If they're having a disagreement, they're communicating. If they're not speaking to each other, they're still communicating. What they're missing is connection. And when we talk about connection, what we're really talking about is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel valued. And also when that connection gives them so that they can receive without judgment, and really truly be themselves. And when they also get sustenance and strength from the relationship. So when we talk about connection and we talk about sustenance and strength, about not being judged and feeling seen, heard, and valued, that's not communication. We can get all of those things through communication, i.e. we can be connected when we've got communication, but what we can't be is we can have communication without connection, but we can't have connection without communication. Sorry, I'll say that again. I'm getting all tongue-tied, and my brain's obviously not connected into my mouth properly. We can have communication without connection, but we can't have connection without communication. That's right. So what we're looking to do is to help people to communicate better so that they can connect, whether that's with themselves, with their environment, with other people. And in our case, it's with our clients. And we know that often our clients, when they come in, they say that they're not feeling seen, heard, or valued. What they often don't realize is that they're not being seen, heard, and valued by themselves. And ultimately, that's what we're about as hypnotists, is to help people to be seen, heard, and valued by listening to them. So one of the first things that I truly wholeheartedly believe is that initial contact that we have with our clients, whether that is via our website, via a video, via a phone call, via an in-person chat, that is when they first seen, heard, and valued. Obviously, if it's via a video or something, that's where really what we're talking about is something that we say connects with them and it resonates with them, and then they make contact with us, and then that's when we really can truly connect with our clients. But when we think about that initial consultation, this is one of the reasons why I always give people time to tell their story. I know there's we do a lot of content-free work as hypnotherapists, but one of the things that I kind of believe is that we have to know the context to even give them the right piece of the right technique or the right method to really get to the bottom so that they can connect in with themselves. So I'm a big believer in actually that just being seen and heard and having their story valued is a massive part of our therapeutic process that when we work with clients. And, you know, especially with the things that I do, because, you know, people often have the wrong information and they're trying to connect in with the wrong thing, or their belief systems are faulty, or they're not feeling worthy, or, you know, they've got no self-esteem, or they believe that they don't communicate well, when actually, you know, they do usually have all of those skills. It's about how we help them to do that. And to do that, we have to hear them, we have to see them, we have to validate what they're feeling at that time, and we also have to validate their goals. And by doing that, a lot of the therapy work is done before we do any formal hypnosis. We all know that hypnosis starts the moment that we make that first contact with somebody, because then we start to connect with them. And the reason why people feel so disconnected is when we talk about what disconnection really is, it's a state of being isolated or detached. And that, you know, whether that's isolated in society, we've got people with social phobias, people are feeling very isolated now with the pandemic in the world. People are talking about feeling very disconnected, when actually what they're really feeling is detached and isolated. They're still connected in to other things, some things, maybe their own feelings, but they're probably not very useful ones quite often. So we really need to help people to feel really seen, heard, valued, just by sitting and listening to them, and then by helping them to move forwards. So often that just a simple hypnosis, just that simple feeling of going into hypnosis on that first session, even if we're just goal setting, giving them some confidence boosts, whether we're helping them create a boundary, you know, all of those things help them to start to reconnect in with themselves. And, you know, all of those things we should really be doing as hypnotists as well. You know, our self-hypnosis, our checking our own boundaries, the way that we work, who we are, what we want out of life, helps us to connect in with ourselves. And then it's much easier to help other people connect in with themselves, because then we can connect with them, and we can kind of come from that place of mindful connection where we feel kind of very grounded, and then we can help other people to do that. I just noticed there is a message there from Jackie, from Jacqueline. Let's have a look. Which says, let's have a look. It says, that's a lady contacted me today to say that she felt connected to me, and she's just been watching me on videos and never thought of it like that. It is, that's, you know, we are kind of reaching out, especially at the moment. We're kind of reaching out to people with the videos. I know a lot of us have been putting out videos, have been sending our clients emails, we've been following things up just to let them know that we're there. And that's part of connection, isn't it? It's to kind of say we're here. And that, you know, falls into that valued part of connection, where people feel valued because we've put things out there for them to connect with, which I think is really important at this time. When we talk about kind of getting strength and sustenance from our relationships because we feel connected, because we're seen, we're heard, and we're valued, when we think about the good relationships in our lives, they're not always easy relationships. You know, this isn't about things running smoothly. This is about just having those things where we can say that we feel really comfortable within ourselves to be able to communicate, to connect, to say what matters to us, to say how we feel, to allow ourselves to feel valued enough to want to be heard, and to value ourselves. Because if we value ourselves, then that helps us to expect, I guess, that others will value us too, so that people are connected in with themselves, so they're not looking outwardly for value. And when we talk about, that fear of judgment, then actually what we're looking for really is approval. We might fear being judged negatively, but we're kind of looking for approval. But all the time, usually, we're much more likely to believe the negative stuff, and rather than the positive stuff, which I think is really interesting. And how we connect with our clients and with ourselves, when we think about how that works in a therapeutic relationship, sometimes it is just being heard, isn't it? When that client really feels, you can see when we actually sit and speak to them and listen to them, that you can see almost a lot of their kind of anxiety leaves them. I know, certainly working with sexual issues, just that judgment-free space that we hold for our clients is massively important, and they in with themselves. So as that process happens, then we start to do lots of other wonderful things, as in we can allow ourselves to really start to build on the kind of the techniques that we're using with people. We can start to see that they create their own boundaries, that they start to move things in and out of those boundaries. We see that they start to feel better, that they start to see the value and the worth of the things that they do, the things that they do in their lives. And also through that, they start to feel, they get rid of that kind of feeling of being very numb about life. They stop being afraid of their feelings. They connect in with them rather than trying to push them away. And I know, as I was going through all those years ago, that kind of emergence from anorexia, what I'd done was shove down all of my feelings, all of my connections. I was disconnected, disassociated. And as I started to connect back in, some of those feelings were very anxiety producing. Some of them were quite scary. But then, like I said, the catalyst for me to do that was falling in love. And, I also felt that. I felt love. I felt that connection, I guess, that then allowed me to start to move forwards, to walk forwards with my life. And what I did at that point, I realized later, was then I took ownership of that issue. I took ownership of what was happening with my body and my mind, and then started to work forwards. And that's what we do. By connecting in with our clients, we allow them to have ownership of their issue. Often when they arrive in our offices, they're so disconnected. It's like their issue is here. They talk about it often in the third person. They will often express it as, like it's got a mind of its own, is the phrase that we often hear, that we're not there, we're not with it, that they're not within themselves. It's there, it's this thing. Trauma is another one. We know PTSD, for example, is a dissociation of something that's there. But ultimately, they're communicating with every one of those issues. With any issue that we all hold, we are communicating with that issue, or the issue is trying to communicate with us. What people don't have is the connection to it. And when we think about how we work as clients, when we think we work with our clients, and we think about many of the techniques that we use as hypnotists, we talk about communication with the subconscious, but our subconsciouses are communicating with us all the time, whether that's, in the realms of the grips of the fear episode with a phobia, whether it's about, just fearing social interaction. Our subconscious is there to help us, or for many people that's kind of what they believe, whatever metaphor you want to use around that. But it's communicating something to us, and our clients' subconscious, our subconsciouses are communicating something to them. What they're not doing is connecting with their subconscious and listening to it. When we talk about, again, being seen, heard, and valued, what the subconscious is doing is really trying to connect. It's trying to say, it's trying to be seen, it's trying to be heard. And this is one of the reasons why the anxiety that people experience, because just about everything we work with as hypnotists is based in anxiety, is trying to be seen and trying to be heard. And it's only when we reconnect people in so that they're connected to their subconscious, they're listening to it, they're communicating with it, where they're understanding what's going on with them, and what those kind of messages, those communications from the subconscious is for. That's when they start to make progress. That's when they really start to move on in leaps and bounds. And when we think about what we do as hypnotists, if we think about techniques like example for the inner child, for example, even though when we take somebody through that technique, so we've put them in a safe place within a safe place, we have their inner child appear at the other side, we ask the client in their mind to look at how they what kind of age the inner child is, the expression on the inner child's face, the clothes that they're wearing, what the inner child wants to say. So we're inviting the inner child to communicate, but then what we do is we bring that inner child into that safe space, and we get the client to connect with their inner child, not just listen to it, not just understand it, but to really connect in with the inner child, so that the inner child feels heard, it feels seen, and it feels valued. And then what we actually ask the client to do is to bring that inner child in and to become part of the whole person again. So it's not disconnected anymore. So we're facilitating a process of reconnection with that inner child that really wants to be playful, to live happily, to, it represents the part of us that's much more free living and playful, I guess. And what we're doing is we're bringing that back in where life has got too serious, or we've become immersed in our job or our finances or the things that have gone wrong, is bringing that part in that actually knows how to play but may be very hurt and or has maybe forgotten how to do it, and we bring that in back to the whole. And it's through these processes of reconnection that we really start to move our clients forwards. If you think about something like parts therapy, for example, where we've got the various parts, what we normally do with those parts is we get them to communicate and then we get them to connect. So often we're connecting two parts together to form a new part, or we're we're getting various parts of a person and getting them to kind of negotiate for a new way forwards. And they're communicating, but by doing that, we're getting the client to connect with every part. So even though the parts are communicating, the parts of that person, they're connecting in as a whole. And that helps our clients move forward so that they can then connect better with others. Are there any questions about any of this so far? I'll keep looking here. There we go. No, that's cool. All right, just drop a little comment in the chat box if you want to. So as we become and we allow our clients to become much more connected, so it may be that a person's more connected to their goals or to their body. We talk about the gut reaction, don't we? That gut feeling. And I know I've seen a lot recently in a lot of the hypnosis forums that tell us that the gut reaction isn't a real thing and intuition isn't a real thing. But, I don't believe that. I believe we know, for example, that in our guts we have many more neurons in our gut than we actually do in our brain. We've got as much serotonin, for example, in our gut as we have in our brain. So that gut reaction, I think that that mind body connection, that head and heart reaction, and that head heart and gut reaction is a very valid one. It's one that really truly helps us to kind of navigate through life and to get rid of that self-doubt. You know, we're taught, you know, we see a lot of people who are taught that their gut reaction is an incorrect one, whether that's through the beliefs that they've been taught as a child, whether that's through an abusive relationship, whether that's through a religious belief, whatever it may be. They're finding that they're kind of programmed to doubt their own gut reaction, so that the head and the gut are completely disconnected, or are connected in a negative way. And often what we're doing is really allowing our clients, with that process of hypnosis, even sometimes just the process of going into hypnosis, just simply allowing people to be in that state and to feel, really provides them with that feeling of reconnection. They start to believe, once we start to tell them that their gut, you know, is trying to tell them something. We've all had that feeling where we've just had that gut reaction and we've ignored it, and then later, you know, we kind of said, I did know, but I didn't want to believe it, or you know, I just thought it couldn't possibly be true, or, you know, just that. And also the other thing where you just sometimes know that you need to do something, that you need to be somewhere, or you just need to, even though everybody else is telling you that it's a bad idea. You know, my gut really brought me into this profession, and, you know, my gut told me that it could be a full-time business. So, you know, and I was right, you know, it can be, and here I am doing it. But, you know, so many people tell you that it can't be. So it's about really kind of digging deep. It's about looking within, isn't it? So that we can really allow ourselves to connect in with everything. And I think this is the thing. This is about connecting in with everything. It's not just, you know, it's not just our interpersonal relationships. We all have those places where we go and think, or we contemplate. I know Freddie talks about his contemplation place on his beach. You know, I have one not far from here where I can drive up to and just look out across the moors, and another place, you know, up near a dam near where I live, where I just go and I look out and I connect in with myself, but I also connect in with my environment. So we can really allow ourselves to connect in with both. Let's have a look. Jacqueline, are you happy for me to bring you up on screen and then you can ask the question? Would that be okay? Let's have a look. I'll make you a panelist and then you can decide whether you want to do that or not. There we go. We can just unmute you if you just want to speak. Okay, so you were saying about that gut can feel a bit skewered if our thoughts are out of control, but as you say, our minds and bodies are always connecting and communicating, so it's important to listen, to spend that quiet time. And sometimes we can ignore it, but subconscious is so intelligent, it takes us where we're supposed to be anyway. I think it is, and I think you're right when you say that intuition versus social and learning constraints, and it's also about social expectation as well. I think that's a big one, about how we, you know, especially in the work that I do, when people have that communication and have that kind of gut instinct of how they want to be and how they want to live their lives, and then they're told that that's wrong in some way, that causes a kind of a real mismatch between our communication. Is that kind of what you were trying to say, Jackie?
Yeah, I can come on screen, but I've got my dressing gown on, so I'm happy.
That's right, we can hear
you. Sorry, okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think sometimes, you know, when you're in that state of anxiety and overwhelm and your mind is working overtime, and that's the connection with the vagus nerve sits in our automatic nervous system in the gut, and that can spiral out of control. And it's hard to really kind of, how can I word it? To feel if those messages are accurate then, because we are not in our best place. So I think when that happens, it's always good to take time out, you know, just go quiet. Like you said, go to that place. I've got the beach. I love going and sitting on the beach. and just really take time to connect in with yourself, calm that mind down, and start working out what is that truth that sings to you. And I always bring the heart into it, because when it sings to our heart and it feels right, then it's our truth, and it doesn't mean that it's got to be someone else's. And there's no need for justification, because it's yours, it's your truth. Yeah. So
this is the thing, isn't it? You know, when we communicate, and this is the difference between communication and connection, isn't it? Is sometimes two people can communicate two completely different beliefs of that. One person's truth is different to somebody else's.
yeah.
And this is why, you know, when we talk about some of these things, it's about, if you have a good connection with somebody,
Yeah.
have a communication that's very different and often opposite. You know, you can have opposite beliefs, but that connection is strong. Whereas if we're, you know, we're just communicating, we're just kind of imparting information, there is no connection there. So if we're connected to ourselves, we're sure about what our belief is, and we're sure about where we are with a particular thing. And then that allows us to have better connections and better relationships, because then we don't care as much about what the world thinks. We, you know, we can connect with it, we can value it, we can see, hear and value other people, but we can still have a different opinion. And I think that's really important.
So important. And you
know,
mentioned, you did mention at the start of the video, we're talking about that. I think today a lot of people may be really sure of what they connect with, but it doesn't fit in with the ideology of those around them that love them. They might have judgment. I know for me personally, I'm 50 now, but my mother will still judge me even now for my thoughts. You can't possibly think that, that's wrong. Oh, okay. But I think you get older, you get wiser, you get more confidence, and you're more in touch with yourself, and then you're okay to voice what you feel. And I think a lot of people miss that because they are fearful of being the ancestral thing rejected from the tribe, isn't it? You know, so and so they just fall into line with what other people think they should, what they think other people think they should be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they don't really. Yeah. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you see, actually, you know, this may be a controversial thing to say, I don't know, but I see hypnotists doing this all the time, because they're worried about how being a hypnotist even, you know, as they try and connect in with you know, the medical profession or whatever it may be, and they end up calling it something else, or, you know.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
you know, I see lots of, you know, and again, this isn't having to go at anybody, it's just a belief that I hold. You know, I see people call themselves change agents and mindfulness coaches and all this kind of stuff, who fundamentally, to another hypnotist, will call themselves a hypnotist. And you know, it's about allowing ourselves to, you know, again, it's about that connection with yourself. You know, I'm wearing a hypnotic t-shirt, I'm here, you know, that's who I am, and that's fine. And for somebody else, they might have something else, but you know, as long as those decisions aren't made out of fear, isn't it? And that's where communication and connection breaks down, where we're doing things out of fear rather than it's because they're afraid of the disconnection, afraid of being isolated and detached and all of those things. Does that kind of address what you were kind of saying?
Yeah, it does. And I wanted to, because I know Freddie's on this call, this is something, Freddie, and I thank you for this. Do you know when he talks in his book about become not a hypnotist, the hypnotist?
Yes.
I remember that stays with me always, because I did that. I was guilty of calling myself a meditation guided visualization. I did it all, and 2 years ago I thought, hang on, what on earth am I doing? I'm a hypnotherapist. This is what I do. This is what I love. This is what I believe in. This is what creates change for people. You become a hypnotist. And that's where
it's probably worth, you know, kind of saying this as well, you know, especially at the moment. And, you know, my business at the moment, like most other people's business, is quieter, but it's not dead. And I have got enough clients. And the reason why that is because, you know, I connected or reconnected with every client that I had any information for, whether it's a phone number or an email address. And that's because I am their hypnotist. And that's the connection, you know, and I'll always be their hypnotist. And it's interesting because that connection, some of those connections are, you know, 20 years old, you know, and they came to see me for stopping smoking. I saw somebody last week who's having a hard time with anxiety right now, because we're in a very anxiety inducing world, and it's a very justified and reasonable anxiety to have at the moment. but because you've connected in and you're their hypnotist, because they're being seen, they've been valued, they've been heard, then they come back, and you never ever lose that with people. And also, if you're somebody's hypnotist, if you're their hypnotist, the hypnotist, then, you know, when they've got somebody that's connecting with them, as in, you know, they're kind of expressing how they are, and they're being seen and heard and valued by their friend, then that's how your name gets. That's what word of mouth is, isn't it? You know, I've made that connection with somebody, and I'm passing on that connection in the hope that you will connect with them, and we can do all kinds, you know, all those kinds of things. I noticed Freddie's appeared. Have you got anything to say?
Well, just to say, thanks, Jacqueline, for those words about that. But more than that, you know, not just being proud of I'm the hypnotherapist, I'm the hypnotist, but to carry that over into everything you are about yourself. You know, about being a woman, about being a man, about having your own thoughts, about understanding that our feelings are our feelings. You know, we were talking about intuition and gut feelings, but you know, there's a theory, and I sort of understand why this is. They're talking about child proteges, you know, why someone could be played a piano phenomenally at 9 years old, or have a brilliant singing voice at 8 or 9 or wherever it might be. Where does that come from? But the idea that in their ancestry they've got musicians, and this makes sense to me. If you know, when we learn something to the point where it becomes an automatic thing we do, like playing a musical instrument, where you can sit at the piano. I can't do it, but you sit at the piano and you can play, you know, an intricate piece of music by ear or by heart. Once you get to that point, some of that learning or the intelligence from that gets dumped into our genes. And so then when we reproduce, some of that information is passed on to our children. It makes sense to me that when we learn something, that's probably why human beings continue to evolve as we do, because bit by bit, the next generation has some learning from the generation before. So when we're talking about gut feelings or intuition, you know, those feelings that we don't know where they come from, this just feels right to me, or this doesn't feel right to me, instead of going, well, it's just your intuition, it's not real, it's you know, to some extent. And I also say this about our unconscious. We have to learn to trust our unconscious mind. When that voice in your head is going, you know, that you really need to do this, or you don't need to do it. You know, if you ask a question of your unconscious mind, which sounds a bit weird, but ask that question. And I often say to my clients, if we sit quietly and we ask a question, you will have an answer. It may not be the answer you want, but it will be the right thing to do. And that ability to trust yourself, as Kaz was saying, you know, there's this conflict between what we instinctively, naturally feel, and what seems right in society. So we're continually battling between what makes us feel good, or what we feel we need to be whole or be happy and healthy, and what society's saying. You know, I know I've hijacked your
it's
question.
All right, I'm going to chuck you out again now.
but I'll go there. But you know, I understand. You know, I hope you understand what I'm saying. This understanding that we should trust ourselves and be who we are, and be proud of who we are, whatever those weirdnesses about ourselves. Accept that's who we are, instead of, you know, beating ourselves up over it and go, here I am, I'm a hypnotherapist, or I'm a man, I'm a woman, and then just be. Anyway, that's my 2 pennies.
There we go. I mean, it's actually more than the just trust. You know, what we're talking about is giving ourselves the same kind of courtesy, the same connection that we seek with others. So it's to trust our subconscious. We have to listen to it. So it has to be heard, it has to be seen, and we have to value it. And when we talk about that, what we're talking about is valuing our own opinion, valuing our own feelings, valuing our own experiences, our own take on life. But the thing that stops us, and this is the irony of it, the thing that stops us connecting with ourselves is the fear of disconnection from everything else. It's that fear of being detached and isolated. That's the thing that we as humans, most of us fear. You know, even people that are introverted, you know, they're quite connected to other things. It's, you know, it's about that disconnection. And there's a big difference between being an introvert who is, or an extrovert even, who's happy at home and not necessarily socializing, to somebody that has a fear of socializing, or somebody has a fear of that judgment. And if they can feel those connections where they're not feeling judged, and they have that kind of that strength and that sustenance from a relationship, then, you know, that we live better, we're happier. But what most people, a lot of our clients don't realize is ultimately that starts within ourselves. We have to have a good relationship with ourselves to have a good relationship with other people. We have to get that strength and that non-judgmental kind of attitude towards ourselves first. We have to have that, I am who I am. These are the things that I like. These are the things that I do. These are my belief systems. And it's okay that they may be different from other people's. And, you know, it's not to fear that judgment. You know, when I look at everything that I do, you know, the thousands and thousands and thousands of clinical hours that I've done, the one thing that is an absolute constant week in, week out, is the fear of what other people are thinking of them. And actually, to the point where I lost my fear of what other people think, because I saw it so often sat in front of me, those words, you know, I worry about what other people think, is that I realized that nobody was thinking anything about me at all, because they were far too busy worrying about what I was thinking about them. And once I had that realization, and that was, again, that's another connection in with myself, is they're not thinking anything. And even if they are, who cares? But it then allowed me to connect in with other people more, because I'd lost that fear about what they were thinking. If you look at Brené Brown's work, for example, you know, what people are saying is that they feel, you know, vulnerable. You know, that's the thing. So it's that kind of fear of being judged, of being disconnected. And then as we connect back in, and then we connect back in with every one of our senses, you know, we allow ourselves to feel things. So, you know, if we, you know, people often say to me, why are you laughing? And I laugh all the time. I laugh, you know, I laugh when I'm happy. I sometimes even laugh when I'm sad. Why are you laughing? And I'm like, it's just the way I am. It's just what I do. And I'm not worried that, you know, that why am I laughing? You know, I kind of do. I'm, you know, ever optimistic. I'm, you know, optimistic to a fault. You know, some people might judge me for that. It doesn't matter. That's the way that I live my life. I choose to kind of believe that everything will come good in the end. That's just how I live my life.
One of my goals the bottom line in all of the things I do, whether it's drugs, fear, anxiety, whatever it is, I want my client to understand their true worth and value. And because if we don't understand that, if we don't connect into that, then we're not going to look after ourselves. And so, although I'm doing all the other techniques, all the other protocols, all the time, in the back of my mind, I want that client going out of that room with a new understanding about their worth and their value. And that little thanks protocol that came up when I had that dream about Tom Hanks, which I won't go into here, but that thanks protocol, which is, you know, I recognize the good within you. Thank you. I care about you and I want you to be well. You know, when you were doing our little, you know, my contemplation rock, or wherever Jacqueline goes, you know, to have that quiet space to get things right, just take the time out to run it in our mind, aim it at ourselves. I recognize the good within you. Thank you. I care about you. I want you to be well. I aim it at my clients. Sometimes I say it, but I always hold it in my heart, because I believe that connection goes beyond the words we speak. So anyway, I'm getting off. I'm going to let you go back to it. Once you start me up, I'll tell you, it's hard to stop me.
It's all right. I mean, we're connecting. That's what this is about. That's what this whole talk is about, isn't it? So it's truly about, you know, that, isn't it? You know, that we as hypnotists, we go out and we make new connections in people's minds as we lay down new neural pathways. We help people connect in with us so that they can connect in with themselves. We send them off with a new connection within themselves, you know, with a new belief. They've made those connections often while we've been sat in our offices, or, you know, in our virtual offices if we're working online. And you know, and then they go and make those connections with other people, especially, you know, in the work that I do. Then they may connect in better with a partner, they may communicate better with a partner, but ultimately it's about connection. I was just thinking about a lovely couple that I worked with very recently who, you know, having speaking to them separately, were talking about the same things but hadn't connected enough to be able to have the confidence to communicate those things together. And also, you know, what one person thought and what the other person thought was different, and they hadn't connected in enough to have the confidence to communicate. And that's the thing, you know, as they, and once I kind of facilitated that, we, you know, we were using something called mutual hypnosis, where I hypnotized them together, put them in a safe place so that they could feel that connection. And then, you know, the connection flowed, and they were able to really say what they felt. You know, it's about, because they were connected in with their own feelings, they could then express that to somebody else. And I think that is just so important in any of the work that we do. So what I wanted to do, it's I can't believe I've been talking to you almost for nearly an hour, was just take you through just a process of feeling, allowing yourself to connect in with yourself, and then allowing yourself to put that out into the world, if you like. And then you can direct that. We can connect with each other. You can connect, just feel more connected to the environment, the earth, the universe, whatever it may be, so that you can really feel your own energy. And that is really about what connection is about, that self-connection. It's about feeling your own energy. And we have many kinds of energy within our bodies, or, you know, the way that we talk about that. I know I talk about libido, which to me means life force, which is the thing that motivates us forward. It's about how we kind of connect with our energy, with our partners, our children, our parents, our co-workers, our neighbors, strangers, how we connect, and we kind of portray ourselves, or we kind of I don't know what the word is, put out our kind of energy into the world. And, you know, it's important that we do that with confidence and with good connections within ourselves. So I just want you to invite you just to close your eyes and take a really comfortable, calming breath in once again. And you can just close your eyes, and you can just allow yourself just to focus on your breathing, and a wonderful feeling of safety and calm and comfort. And I really want you to notice just what you're feeling in your gut, the thoughts that are running through your mind, and how that also connects in with that feeling in your heart, that feeling how you feel about yourself. And I really want you to just feel that feeling of being very present. So you can now feel yourself being very present, very aware of the space that you take up in the world. And you can really feel that energy. You can really noticing your energy that's completely unique, completely wonderful. It's got your mark on it, your stamp. It's made up of everything that makes you up. And you can notice as you really focus on that energy that it becomes more intense. It really becomes much more intense, almost as if that energy takes on a life of its own. Maybe it pulses or it spins. Maybe you can imagine the color that it is. It doesn't matter. But just noticing that feeling, that positive energy of individuality. And as you notice that energy, I want you to give yourself permission to simply just be you. Whether or not you feel you've got things you need to work on or faults, give yourself permission to be you, to not be perfect, to just connect in with yourself and to accept every one of those connections within yourself, about yourself, with love. So that you are just simply you. And feel that energy of you filling up every part of you. So you can even feel it in your fingers and your toes, the end of your nose, and allow it to really begin to kind of pulse the very essence of you, if you like, your individuality and all the things that you offer to the world, that you bring to the world. Notice how good it feels to be you. And notice as you focus on your energy, your individuality, accept also this is what you bring to connections. This is why every connection you have is completely unique, completely wonderful. And allow your energy to really grow, almost as if it can be projected out of you, can fill a room. Feel it filling the room that you're in. And notice that energy doesn't become diluted, it becomes more powerful, stronger. As you focus on your individual energy. And notice connecting in with other people's energy, with your environment. Just allowing it to become stronger and stronger, more profound. Your vibration, your vibe. Connecting in, intertwining, intermingling, connecting, but still being your individual energy. And notice how your energy touches, connects. And know that that energy can be portrayed with a simple smile, even a simple message, a text, a look, a touch, a thought even. But be very aware of your energy and how it connects in with the world around you, the world far away, perhaps even in with the universe, that very unique individual vibration that simply allows you to be you. And in a moment, as I count up again from 1 to 5, just noticing that energy, being really aware of that wonderful energy. That energy that defines you, allows you to connect in with yourself, to feel good about being yourself. Feeling really wonderful in every way. So ready, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm assuming everybody's back because I can't hear anybody. But okay, so kind of in summary with all of that, we talk about the art of connection, but really it's those 3 words: seen, heard, valued, in an environment, in a situation that brings you strength and sustenance without feeling judgment. And that is what a true connection is, I think. And when we're able to do that for ourselves, to ourselves, when we're able to do that within our environment, when we're able to do that within our relationships, and especially when we're able to do that with our clients and allow our clients and facilitate that for our clients, then, that's something far beyond communication. It's not just about delivering information. It's not just about, telling somebody how to do something. It's about connecting with them enough so that they feel that self-belief and they feel their own value, so that they're seeing, hearing and valuing themselves, and we do that for ourselves too. Then that's how we're allowed to do that. It's about living our lives in a way that's wholehearted, with every single sense of our body full of sensual intelligence. I know Freddie and I'll speak to you about that in a moment, but that truly is something, when we can live our world where we feel connected to every sense of our body, then we can connect in better and more profoundly with other people. And and that's something that's just fundamental, I think, to our happiness and our well-being as humans. So there we go.
Wow, that was fantastic. I didn't want to come back out of that last trance. It was absolutely fantastic. So, thanks, Kaz. If anyone's got any questions, please ask.
Yeah, please do.
But I'm sure that everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. And I didn't say a lot about Kaz, about her experience in hypnosis and how long she's doing it, the amount of thousands of people that she's helped, the amount of thousands and thousands of clinical hours she's spent helping people. So I just got to thank you for that, and thanks for the experience. That's 3 times you've hypnotized me now. 2 times I was aware of it, and once not.
I want once you weren't. But there we go.
But Kaz and I, we ran a workshop last year in Las Vegas, and it was called Sensual Intelligence, and it was about connection. It was about connection with ourselves, connecting with our partners, connecting with the people around us, and just allowing ourselves to feel. As Kaz now got this catchphrase, feeling is healing. But it's true, it is, and we were talking, as Kaz was talking there, about this separation or disconnect from what we feel and what we feel we should be doing. And that's a tough thing for most people. And on that course that we ran, we spoke about that. I ran some techniques for getting people to connect with themselves and others, and Kaz had some wonderful techniques there. What were the names of them? One was the Kaz ball.
Yeah, we had the Kaz ball, which is about expanding feelings and creating good ones. We ran about 12 techniques over 2 days, didn't we? So there's the cup of joy, about how to kind of feel a kind of an overflowing feeling of joy, or any feeling, in fact, that you want, and the infinity cube, which is just the idea that our feelings can be infinite. We can feel things infinitely in terms of how we want to experience something. There's no end to good feelings if we
One of the techniques I ran was the total perception management, how to, if you like, be able to switch off a negative emotion and ramp up a positive emotion. So there's some great techniques, and we've got that out as a product now, haven't we? So if anyone's watching, you're interested, where do they need to go, Kaz, to find that? So it'll be on my website, your website, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's the Sensual Intelligence website, which is sensualintelligence.vegas. What we have got at the moment is we've got like an early bird. So for the next 21 days, when Freddie and I taught this, it was actually, I think it was over $500, wasn't it? It's a full 2 days. It's over 7 hours that it's been edited down into 7 hours of training. We are going to sell it for $97, but at the moment we've got it on an offer for $57 if you're quick in the next 21 days. So you get 7 hours of training for $57. I think there's 12 techniques in there. All the things like you were saying, like there's the arrow in there, there's the total perception management, there is the infinity cube, rock the Casbah, trance circles, self-integration dissociation, Cupid's arrow, and a whole lot of other just kind of tidbits in there, talking about how to facilitate sensual intelligence, which is really living with every one of your senses, which ultimately helps people to connect, so you can connect in with yourself. So yeah, of course you can share whatever you like in the UK Women's Group, Jackie.
And this is being recorded, so if you know anyone that's missed it because of time zones or whatever else, it will be on my website, it will be on YouTube, sure it'll be on Kaz's site as well. But if you're interested in training with us, then I would suggest you have a look at that sensual intelligence training that we're running. It is, I have to say, I'm saying it, I know it's our thing, but it is such good value. It's 7.5 hours of training for something like $57 or something. So if you're interested, go to Kaz's website and buy it. That's it, really.
Yeah, it'll be on my website, but as I say, we have got sensualintelligence.vegas, so that will just take you straight to that course as well, which is pretty cool. And it's a good intro as well.
It was 2 days of fun, wasn't it?
It was really good fun.
Training was great. So
yeah.
Well, I've got to thank you again, Kaz. It was phenomenal, and I love what you do, and so does thousands of other people. And you're changing people's lives, and you walk the walk. I have to say about Kaz. When she talks about connecting with yourself and trusting yourself and being happy with who you are, Kaz lives that, and that shows in everything she does. So thanks again, and thanks for everyone who's joined us this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon. All right. So anything else you want to say, Kaz, before we go?
No, just don't be afraid to connect with yourself. That is my, just allow yourself to just to be you. I know that's kind of a bit of a cliche, but I think as hypnotists especially, that is what we have to do to move our profession forwards, and to just go with it. So thank you so much, all of you, for taking your time out to come and listen to this Yorkshire Lass waffle on about all sorts. But I hope you've enjoyed it.
And what's your website, Kaz? I'll put it on
my website. There's KazRiley.com, but the one that's probably in terms of training and kind of my niche work is sexualfreedomhypnosis.org for training and .com for sessions, and there's lots of information on there. It's not as scary as it sounds. I know people get very worried about we're talking about sex, but actually it's pretty fundamental to our lives, and actually connection is the thing that underpins all the work that I do, which is why I chose to speak to you about that. It's the thing that makes me tick. What can I tell you?
Yeah, well, thanks again, Kaz. I'll say goodbye to everyone.